Hi, I'm Chris Group and I'm with Aesthetic Advisor, and welcome to our Skinteresting educational videos. What we're going to be talking about today is pretty specific to laser hair reduction or permanent hair reduction, because we're going to talk about melanin and how important is it when we're talking about hair reduction. So when we're talking about melanin in a hair follicle, I just started teaching a class here and we were talking about this a few days ago, and it's really interesting on how there's so much misinformation about what treatments can be done and how does melanin play a part in hair reduction. So melanin in hair reduction is pretty much everything if you're going to be using a laser or an IPL device. If the laser can't see its target, it will have nothing to absorb into or create heat to kill the stem cells that tell the body to produce a hair or not to produce a hair. So what hair colors can be lasered effectively? We're talking about blacks and browns. Okay, doesn't work on gray, doesn't work on white, doesn't work on red, doesn't work on blonde. If there are some other colors within those hair colors in the same area, the dark ones will be reduced, but the blonde ones and the white ones and the red ones are still going to be there. So if you have a person who has a combination of both of them, maybe black hair and gray hair, you want to let your client know that, okay, we're going to try to get rid of 80 to 85% of the black hairs, but the gray hairs are going to be with you and you're going to have to shave them. There's nothing worse than having a client disappointed because you told them that it would get rid of all the gray hair, and it won't. I've been doing this for about 12, 13 years now, and it won't, because I've got 2 gray hairs on my body that I would love to get rid of, and I haven't been able to, so it's not going to work. So you want clients that are happy and clients that send you referrals. You want to be honest with them on what you can actually treat. So what are the different kinds of melanin? Well, there's eumelanin and pheomelanin. Eumelanin is blacks and browns. Pheomelanin is reds and yellows. Lasers can't see pheomelanin. They can only see eumelanin. So you want to make sure that the treatment area has dark hairs. Now, some people, instead of just having them come in for a treatment that day, will have them come in beforehand to do a consultation with them so they can see the color of the hair. Most of the time, once you get used to doing this, you can just have them shave the hair and you're going to be able to see the color because you can see it kind of in the follicle. But if you haven't gotten to that point in your career yet, then you can have them come in, you can look at the hair before they shave it, and then set up their actual appointment when they're going to be having their treatments being done. When we look at what's on the inside of a hair follicle, we've got a slide here that shows a histology of what a hair follicle looks like. So let's talk about the different zones within that hair follicle. You've got your dermal papilla, okay, down at the bottom, and that's what's giving this hair follicle its blood supply and nutrient supply. You also have your melagenetic area. That's where you've got a higher concentration of melanin. How I like to explain it to my clients that come in is if you were to tweeze an eyebrow hair, okay, and pretty much everybody has done one. If it's a guy, then you could also tweeze it for him while he's there. And if it's in an anagen growth phase, you can tweeze that hair and you can see a big bulb at the bottom of it, okay? That's the highest concentration of melanin in that hair. That's what our target actually is. When we get to a point where it goes from anagen to catagen to telogen, telogen is when it's in a resting phase. If you were to pull on your eyebrow hair with your fingers and then take a look at it, you're probably going to see a very slender thread. That slender thread is a hair that is in a telogen growth phase. It's just waiting to be pushed out by the new anagen hair. And it doesn't have that bulb at the bottom of it. So if it doesn't have that bulb is what's absorbing the laser light, creating the heat, which is creating the damage to the stem cells that are down around that bulb and also in the bulge area. So if we look at this slide, you can see where you've got your hair follicle matrix. This is where the stem cells are. So we're basically using that melanin to create enough heat to kill the stem cells so the body doesn't produce another hair out of it. Now, let's say we don't kill all the stem cells, we damage the stem cells. What's going to happen? Well, usually a lighter, finer version of that hair will grow out of that hair follicle, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get rid of. The easiest hairs to use laser hair reduction or permanent hair reduction on are coarse, very dark hairs. If it is going from an anagen to a catagen stage, that might happen where you just damage them, you don't destroy them. Or if you don't use enough energy, fluids, like your settings aren't correct, you can also cause that to happen. So we want to try to use the right amount of fluids with the right amount of pulse duration for that patient or that client with that skin type and that hair type in order to give them the best result. So to wrap this up, you want to make sure that the hair that you're trying to use a light-based therapy, so again, lasers and IPL, that is appropriate for these modalities, and that is a hair that is darker, okay, so either browns or blacks. The coarser the hair, the better the results you're going to get. And then we want to make sure that we tell them that if they have any gray hair area or blonde or the hair is too red, it's probably not going to be reduced. If you've got a client, and one time I did have a client who had blonde hair on her arms and she wanted me to laser them, and I told her it wouldn't work, and she still wanted me to laser them. What I did is I typed up a form saying that she knew that the results would probably be 25% reduction or less, and she still chose to go ahead with it, and I had her sign it. And the reason I did this is I don't want somebody coming back 5 treatments that after I've done 5 treatments on them and saying, hey, it didn't work, where I was saying, hey, it's not going to work when we start this whole process. So it was just a little bit of protection I added in for myself. I knew it wasn't going to work. They wanted to still do the treatments, but I don't want to have to refund their money on a procedure that I know isn't going to work, that they are electing to go ahead. So something in writing is always helpful. Make sure that you are using the proper settings for that machine with that skin type and that hair quality. And when you do all of these things in conjunction, you should have a very happy client with a very great result. So thank you for watching our Skinteresting educational series. I'm Chris Group with Aesthetic Advisor. See you soon.